Good day, everybody. This is Chris Bear, and I'm going to be your instructor for OEEM 150L. That is Emergency Medical Technician Intermediate / Advanced Emergency Medical Technician Lab. As part of your lab requirements, we are moving over to what's known as a portfolio, a clinical skills portfolio. So we will be tracking several different, over a dozen different skills and techniques. And there are now some requirements for those techniques. And this is in addition to skills and techniques that you'll be performing in the clinical environment on actual patients. This will be in the laboratory environment. So as a part of that, you will now be required to have, keep, and document what's known as a clinical portfolio. Now, the clinical portfolio files can be found in Canvas, and I'll show you where to find that information, and you'll be able to print that information off before you come to class. So let me just go ahead and come over here. So if you go into OEEM 155 or 150, excuse me, 150L section D01, okay, and you go into the modules tab under the courses in Canvas, you will see a couple of modules that have been loaded in for you: lab portfolio paperwork and skill sheets. And so what's going to happen is every lab is going to have a certain number of skills that we'll be working on. Perhaps one lab will be focusing on patient assessment and management, and those are the skill sheets that you'll need to print off for that lab. And then I'll go over these lab portfolio sheets as well. You've got the AEMT laboratory cover page and the AEMT portfolio document, in addition to the skill sheets. Okay, so what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get a hold of a 3-ring binder like this. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your name, okay, so your name, OEEM 150L, Spring 2017 on there, okay? And the way that you're going to set your portfolio up is the following. At the very front, okay, the very front of the portfolio, you should have the Advanced Emergency Medical Technician Didactic Laboratory Psychomotor Portfolio Requirements. Okay, this is the portfolio document right here under Lab Portfolio Paperwork in the module tabs. So what's going to happen is there are a certain number of techniques that you will need to be checked off on by an instructor. You can also practice and you can have your fellow students check you off on, but there are specific thresholds that only an instructor can sign you off on. And that would include myself and my teaching assistants. Okay, so here are some of the techniques that you guys will be working through. And so you can see you have patient assessment and management medical. You need a minimum of 2 instructor checkoffs. That means you need to perform this technique / skill successfully a minimum of 2 times with an instructor checking you off. And so what I have here is I have a table that has been inserted. And every time that you successfully perform this technique, your instructor, the instructor who graded you, quote unquote, on that technique, will put the date that you completed that, and then they will initial that. And so here in this simulated student, Jane Doe, she completed one patient assessment and management medical technique on 1/13/2017, and then the instructor initialed that. Okay, and this sheet is always going to sit at the very front, okay, of this portfolio. And then what's going to happen is every single lab that you do, okay, is going to have a cover page. Okay, so maybe this was the first lab that Jane Doe did. So they will get a cover page, and you can find the cover page right here at the top of the lab portfolio paperwork. Okay, so before you come to lab, what you need to do is you need to print this off, and then you look at your syllabus and you find out what we will be working on in lab that day, and then you print off several skill sheets for that lab. Okay, so Your cover sheet goes in, and then what I want you to do is I want you to put some sort of post-it note in there. That way, when I'm reviewing your portfolio, I know, okay, this is the first lab, okay, this is the second lab, and so on and so forth, all 14 or 15 labs that we'll end up doing this semester. I can go straight to that lab. All right, so this is a lab, the students put their name on, the date of the lab, and then underneath the cover sheet, what you're going to need is you're going to need to put in the filled out skill sheets. The first skill sheets, the skill sheets that need to go in first, are the ones that an instructor filled out, okay? And then underneath that, your fellow students, okay? If you did something and your partner or your friend or a fellow classmate checked you off on that, okay, that needs to go in here as well, okay? So this is a very important point, not only do your passing, if you passed a skill, does it need to go in, but if you didn't pass a skill, that sheet needs to go in as well. So if you did something wrong or you hit a critical criterion, even though you didn't pass, that still needs to go in. We still need to have that information, that documentation, okay? So instructor documented stuff first, and then underneath the instructor skill sheets will be the student skill sheets, okay? So just to be clear, so what I do is I go through this, is I'll look here and I'll go, oh, okay, so on the 13th, Jane Doe had an instructor check her off on patient assessment management medical, and then I flip over to the 13th, and then I should see that skill sheet checked off there, okay? And then on the second lab, so 11417, all right, so we'll go to that tab there. There we go, 11417. I should also see filled out skill sheets for whatever skills were done, both successfully and non-successfully, all right? And then at the end of this semester, you'll have a complete document of all of the skills and techniques that you have successfully and unsuccessfully done. And we expect that you're not going to do perfect on every skill. We understand that, but we want to have a record of all of the work that you've been doing in the laboratory environment. Okay, so to successfully negotiate lab with a passing grade, you need to do a minimum of all of these. So you need to have a minimum of 2 medical assessment and managements. You need to have a minimum of 2 traumas and so on and so forth. Another very important component of this is down here at the bottom. Okay, students must complete the following instructor checkoffs prior to entering the clinical environment. So before you can begin engaging with patients, there are a certain minimum number of skills that you need to have an instructor check you off on, either myself or my teaching assistants in the lab environment or an open lab environment if you come in on a day off. And these are the following. So you need to have at least 1 instructor checked off, patient assessment and management medical, okay? You need to have at least 1 successful cardiac arrest management, doing CPR and using the automated external defibrillator. You need to have at least 2 successful IV starts and IV medication administrations, or IV bolus medication administration. You need to have at least 1 intramuscular and 1 subcutaneous medication administration. You need to have at least 1 intranasal medication administration, and you need to have at least 1 oral medication administration, 1 sublingual medication administration. So these are the minimum skills that you need to have checked off by an instructor prior to entering the clinical environment, and that is to ensure that you have successfully developed a minimum skill set that you can bring to the clinical environment and that you can safely provide advanced EMT skills or perform advanced EMT skills on actual patients in the clinical environment. So that will be the focus for the first few weeks of class is ensuring that you are up on advanced patient assessment, you are up on managing somebody in cardiac arrest, and then you are up on your pharmacology and invasive skills that will be that you are required to do in the clinical environment that go above and beyond what you're currently able to do as a basic emergency medical technician. Okay, hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you are in my class, this is actually a mandatory video that you have to watch, and there is a quiz that you will be required to take to ensure, to show that you have watched the video and you understand the material in it. Okay, I hope you have a great day, and here's looking forward to a great semester. Take care.